there's like different decks that Druid can try and do, and that's just not a thing that the other classes get to do because they're all in on one thing, and it happened that they mistyped the mana costs of the cards or something.
There is nothing I love more in any card game than finding a way to take a trash card and make it OP. And that's what these are doing, but they are doing it in a heavy-handed way that doesn't allow for that exploration, and it also just doesn't allow for any of these cards to stand on their own.
Welcome to episode 545 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, May 7th, 2026 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergon, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From North Rend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. This week's episode is brought to you by our producers, Number Theory, Kresh, Beef Squatch, David P., Jeremy T., Bottle Caps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, May, NY Kiwi, Spine, and Crisley Bear. And by our patrons of the week, Critter Pup and Sasnak. You can go to patreon.com/coinconcede to get perks like a thank you at the top of the show, bonus post-show content, early access to new episodes, and help us support the show in the process. If you'd like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. And of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. So, how fare you two with the Hearthstones?
Well, let's see who wants to go first. Well, I have been a little busy, so I mostly played today. As I was saying before the show, there are a lot of... May is brutal for both high school students and college students, and a lot of students are needing some last-minute pushes, so that's been a lot. But that was not actually why I wasn't here last week. So, small setup, real short, I promise. There's a conference for the professional association that I'm joining. And my instructor from grad school was like, you should present this topic that I had talked with her about at the conference. And I was like, thank you so much for thinking of me, maybe. And then I had kind of decided I didn't feel like I really had it well enough down, and maybe next year. But I didn't actually communicate that with her because I didn't think I needed to.
Uh-huh.
So on Thursday, April 30th, which was the deadline at midnight, I get a text from my instructor saying, have you submitted yet? And I said, oh, no, I wasn't really planning to. Thank you, though. And she said, well, I told the head of the association that you were applying, and she said that she would help you out if you needed it. So I was like, well, I guess I'm applying if she told the head of the association that I was applying and was advocating for me there. So this was at 1 p.m. We were planning to record at 4:30, and I'm not going to get a proposal out in 3 hours. So I messaged that I would need to do that, and I submitted at 11:05 p.m., which for me these days is quite late. Because I go to bed early, and I was like, how did I do this in college except for at 4 a.m.? This sucks. But anyway, is in. We'll see whether they actually want me to do it or not. But Hearthstone-wise, I've played a little bit of the Dude Paladin, which I was having more luck on Tuesday than today, I will say. Partly list-related, I think, but also probably meta-related. And I also tried playing some of the Companion Hunter today. I figured I would leave the Mage to Edel. I figured Edel would have plenty to say about the Mage. And I only had a couple hours to play. 80 minutes of which was just facing priests with the Hunter. I ran into 3 priests in a row. I guess they're there to target the aggro decks that are targeting the new decks. They're totally winnable from the Hunter side, but it takes a long time, to which Wicked said, isn't that every Control Priest game?
Well, you're getting a victory. Are you actually winning? Is the question.
Although the longest one I didn't even win because I drew horribly. I didn't get anything to upgrade the beasts until turn 8. It was really sad. I had mulled for it too. It's not like I didn't mull for it. Even then, I thought I might be able to get there, but they were healing 16 with every time that they used an Eternal Firebolt, so I wasn't really going to get through that. Yeah. But anyway, I did have some fun with the companion hunter, and I think once they fix the bug with it, which we'll talk about, that will help. It definitely does feel like, especially the mage, has not quite lived up to where people want it to be.
Yeah, I will, get into this in the explanations, but it feels like you basically end up doing a burn mage and don't do the summon or Arcanomicon. Like, it's just about upgrading your bursting and taking advantage of what becomes an admittedly great draw spell, right? You can, draw a couple cards and reduce their cost by 2. And like an elusive 2-drop is pretty good right now in the form of the beast. The other one, 3 mana 4/2 is whatever, but it reduces costs, gets you a ley line that you hope isn't the summon minions one, and yeah, it can lead to some big damage turns. But the problem with the summoning ley line is that the most likely mana cost that you're going to have to summon in the mid game is 7, which is a really bad mana cost to summon a random minion from, even if you're getting multiple hits. So, yeah, it's better to just say, actually, we're not going to run that at all. We're not going to run Arcanomicon at all. It's just, the bit of extra burn that you can get from bursting happening a bunch of times. And perhaps people will realize when the shine is worn off that maybe it's correct to just not do ley lines at all. I don't know. Yeah. I do think weirdly enough, having a 2-drop 2/3 elusive just in certain matchups, certainly in the mirror, can be, get in a good amount of chip damage.
Maybe just run it without the ley lines. Just run the 2 mana 2/3 elusive.
I don't know. I mean, I think you can get pretty significant burst damage from the bursting ley line, and go figure, because you've got those beasts to upgrade it, and then also Calic Ghosts, right? Gives everything +1 spell damage. Some of the lists run Thalnos as well. So as long as you've gotten 1 Surge Needle, so it casts a second time, like that can clear some decent sized minions and do face damage along the way. But yeah, otherwise it's sort of like, well, the draw spell, drawing things and reducing their cost is pretty nice. Yeah, it's in a weird spot. Yeah, I'll talk more specifics and what I'd like to see later, but largely playing Arena, which is dual class now, which should be more fun than single class, but I've actually kind of enjoyed less. I mean, the previous Arena meta had its problems, but it was also fun when you were playing those classes. Like Mage was just kind of busted. If you get hit the right stuff going all in on elementals, like every mage was an elemental mage. For whatever reason, it was quite consistent. That is toned down now because dual class makes everything less consistent. But you sort of have to pick 2 Herald classes and click all the cards that say Herald to get a good performing Arena deck right now. And if you are unsuccessful in doing that, it's sort of like, and certainly if you're trying to do anything with like the new class, like actually the ones that got class sets, I think are performing worse because
they got the class sets.
Because they got the class sets and they're so parasitic, right? Like you need a bunch of them for them to work together, and
yeah.
I mean, I guess I understand them having the Herald stuff in because that's from the new set, but also like if you have a curated pool, maybe you take that out to make less of a focus on that. I don't know.
Well, it is cool and fun. They capped it at you could only get 2 of each, right? Because initially it was like sometimes you would just go nuts and you would hit like 3-4 of the a particular Herald card that was really good, and you just have a deck with like 10 Heralds. It's disgusting. Yeah, they capped it so you can only naturally get 2 of each, but then discovers are at a premium because you can discover extra heralds. And I think there's something weird going on in dual class right now where the discover pool is narrower than it should be. So people are hitting like, hitting their Onyxias or whatever much more often.
Or maybe that's a function of the curation of the card pool.
I think it's a bug.
Yeah. I mean, we don't actually get to see the card pool, right? Like, we never see what that curated card pool is when they do this. So it could be both.
Yeah. Anyway, so been doing Arena and also Magic Arena because Scholomance is cool to draft.
I'm sorry.
And so no, it's fine. I did the thing that I've decided is what I do, which is like I do my initial. I'm going to put in $100. This is what I have to play limited until it runs out, and then I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that with like $50 because I did the pre-order for that, and then there was some sort of a bug where they didn't give me all my stuff right at launch, and then they fixed it twice.
Well, that's nice.
So I've had pretty much all the drafts I could want. I'm almost out of them now because I'm still, not great. I mean, I'm not bad, but I'm not great at it. But yeah, it's I played some Druid before the patch launched, which was fine. I don't really love that deck, and it feels really draw dependent, and like the games where you don't get Marithra in your hand in time to be able to get it to do the thing feel so much worse. And even then, like the variance in dragons, like you will feel it a lot because there are some stinkers in that pool too. Like you don't see that because your opponents are not going to play them, right? But there are some bad dragons that just get like, well, I can play this, but I really don't want to. And so it comes down to like because it's random, you can get like multiples of it's not like you're getting one of each. So you can just do you roll the good dragons or do you run the bad ones? And it was fine. I was kind of going 50-50 with it, which is enough to climb in like, silver and gold. And then after the patch, I tried Paladin. That went very poorly for me. I think it went more poorly for me than it should have. It should have gone poorly. I think it went more poorly for me because I was just not playing it right. And I don't really, anyway, I'll talk about my grievances there too. But the one game that I was close, I was playing against a warrior who had played a Shadow Suffusion and then just dropped a Tortola in my way. And that was the end of the game. So yeah, that was not so much fun. I played a little bit of the mage. Again, I had the same experience. I had a couple games where I won, and if you draw everything well, sometimes you can get there, and if you don't, then it feels terrible. And I've been playing more of the Animal Companion Hunter. The thing about some of these random generation, especially the targeted ones, is that you remember cards that you forgot existed in standard. And my new nemesis is Onara, which is a card that everyone has forgotten existed from Into the Emerald Dream, which is the Shaman Wild God that nobody ever picks. It's a 9-drop that says at the end of your turn, play the top 3 cards from your deck, which every time hits Confront the Tol'vir and ends up burning like 5 to 10 cards off the top of my deck every single time. There was one board where I had 2 of them simultaneously, which was terrible. Because like Confront the Tol'vir summons minions, which at that point I have a full board because I've been summoning Animal Companions, and put stuff in your hand, which I had a full hand because it kept drawing me stuff, or putting stuff in my hand from like the 1-drop who gives you a minion when a 1-drop minion when it with Battle Cry, and on Death Rattle it gives you a 1-cost spell and whatever, and then tracking, put stuff in your hand. The 1-cost Animal Companion spell draws a card. Like there's a lot of things that just draw you cards, and you have enough stuff in your hand at that point. It's just like, oh great, I'm just going to burn 5 cards off my deck. Fantastic. So I did not know that I knew it existed. I forgot it existed until yesterday. And now that is my absolute nemesis, and I want to set it on fire. So
Yeah, I have not yet had that experience, although to be fair, I hadn't played I played a little bit on Tuesday. I played a couple hours today, and most of that time was facing priests, where I could just not summon on 9 or anytime when I didn't like the companion because they just give you a lot of time. So, although it is annoying once they get their weapon out.
yeah.
So, and I had played some more, like last week I was playing Dragon Warrior, some Herald Shaman, a number of different things. I've just been kind of bouncing. I do wonder whether the Burn Mage will work for Leyline Mage. I mean, I noticed that there isn't data on HS Guru for Burn Mage at higher ranks, but Diamond through Legend it's doing well since the patch, but just like regular Burn Mage. So I don't know whether the ley lines make it better or worse. If you're doing, there didn't seem to be data on like burn ley lines yet. So,
well, and I think there's this skew of the aggro decks are really good at just beating the crap out of the new cards. And so like a burn mage is going to beat a slower leyline mage or N1 companion hunter or Silverhand paladin because I mean mage especially there's no healing, right? Eternal Firebolt does not count.
Not when you don't have the extra things from priests that make it heal more.
Yeah, or you generate an ice barrier off of something.
Ice barrier is it. That's it. And you're not going to run that. I'm like baffled as to why Arcane Artificer went out of core. I just it really
people
limits.
Were so mad at Protest Mage, I guess.
I mean, people are just mad at armor.
But
in
the
general.
thing is, like, but you don't need to take all of it out, right? Like, they were losing the Protoss card, and there's no good copy things, right? Like buy one get one freeze is gone. So baffling to me, but yeah, I think the new cards are just fragile to aggro, and so aggro is beating the crap out of them. And then some people are like, oh, I'll try Control Priest to beat the aggro decks.
And that's probably what I should be doing, honestly. I would probably be much happier.
But then the slower stuff can lose to the new cards because they do have a sort of inevitability as long as they hit things. Yeah. And well, not the Paladin. The Paladin's just bad. Unless you're just doing aggro Paladin, right? Like I've seen plenty of aggro Paladin. Some of them with the new like summon 2 silver hands with Divine Shield. That's a good card by itself.
Yeah, it really misses. Why am I blanking on it? The aura that we lost, Crusader aura.
Yeah, yes, Crusader aura would be a lot better with it. Yeah, but a lot of things would be better with Crusader aura.
Well, yes. Probably other paladins might be a little too good with Crusader aura, but I will say that the hatching ceremony it is a lot of tempo loss up front, but it does guarantee that you buff your board. So given how desperate we are for buffs, it feels better than I expected. Hatching ceremony is the 3 mana, give all of your minions +2/+1 at the end, or +2/+2 at the end of your next turn. So you play it now, and then you build a board on your next turn, and then it gets buffed.
Yeah, and the fact that it curves into teamwork, right? Like, there's something there.
That's that just like, and this is gonna age me incredibly, but it just reminds me of like playing Marvel versus Capcom 2 as the Hulk, where he would have a wind up where he would wind up all the way back for like 15 minutes and then punch down and hit you so hard, but then you have plenty of time to block because you could see it coming from a mile away. Like,
Yeah. See, my reference for that is Super Smash Brothers Melee. There was Marth versus Roy. And Marth was like fast but didn't hit very hard, so you had to be really good to build up a lot to then be able to actually get them off of the stage, but they could never hit you because you were really fast. And Roy hit hard, but really telegraphed. So he was better against bad people and worse against good people, in my experience. Now, I'm sure there's people listening right now who are like, Magesa, you got everything completely wrong about Super Smash Bros. Melee. Okay, I was a kid playing against other kids. That's my defense. I do not know how this works competitively. I am sure that, like Pokemon, it is a completely different game when you're playing it competitively. As Hearthstone is, I mean, Dude Paladin, like, if you look at Diamond, Dude Paladin's doing okay. But if you look at, like, top 5K, it's negative. I don't think there's even data for it in top 1K.
Yeah, it's the top 1K people have moved on from it. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're in top 1K because they're not playing it, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, they figured it out before everybody else. But, yeah. I mean, and we'll talk a lot more about what the issues are with this. I guess we should get through a little bit of news, which is mostly going to be talking about this too, but then and talk about some of the things that have been fixed and some of the things that have broken because of the new patch, which are I don't want to be negative, but this has been a rough patch both technically and from the set, and there's no reason to sugarcoat it. But I mean, and hopefully some of these things will get fixed in different ways, but let's talk about what happened with this patch.
I think Hunter will be helped a lot when it gets fixed. But anyway, yes.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
So we got patch 35.4. As you probably know, if you are listening to a podcast about Hearthstone, you probably have seen the new patch. You've probably at least considered buying the class sets. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. They're there. They sure are. If you haven't bought them, you can buy them for $10 USD or 1,200 gold for one, or the whole pack of 4 for $19.99 USD or 2,500 gold for all 4 of them. You can get the golden one for $80 USD or 12,000 gold. If that is something that you are interested in. As Edel mentioned, we also have a dual class arena in the client for right now. There is a fully curated card pool, so it is specifically for dual class arena. There's a new UI that's related to dual class, which does help make it a lot clearer what is going to happen. It's in your face. You're not going to miss it if you draft. It is very clearly like, hey, you're drafting your first class. This is what you're drafting the hero power. Make sure you want the hero power. Like it's pretty clear what's happening. And then once you've drafted both classes, then it will let you draft your legendary. So it is helpful for people who have not done a dual class before, because it is easy to miss that the order that you pick them does actually matter, because the hero power can be pretty significant in arena, much more so than in constructed. So we have a new event, Forging the Dragon Soul. This is not, if you have been playing a long time, the crappy priest weapon, as I thought it was when someone tagged me in the Discord when I had not yet seen these patch notes. I think that was Yuma Gates. They're like, oh, can we play Dragon Soul? I'm like, we're playing that crappy weapon that made 5/5s? What are we doing? No, that's not what this is. This event is going currently until May 26th. It's your final confrontation with Deathwing. This Deathwing comes from an alternate timeline where he emerged victorious and claimed the Dragon Soul for himself. So the heroes of Azeroth are going to stand a chance. They're going to need a Dragon Soul of their own, but this time with a little something extra. Help them obtain this mighty power and claim these rewards. So you're going to get, through the course of the event, you'll get a copy of Dragon Soul Shattered. If you complete the whole event, you'll get a golden one as well as a regular one, a mage pack, a druid pack, a hunter pack, a paladin pack, one golden cataclysm pack, a raid finder card back, and a valor point coin.
The card back is actually kind of cool because it has like an eye over the Hearthstone logo that's like blinking. You can't see it in the patch notes, but in the client.
And the coin has got like a helmet, like a footman helmet on it. So, but what is Dragon Soul Shattered, you might ask? Well, it is a neutral 6-mana spell that says start of game, break into 6 essences. Adjoining essences are cast together. And there are 6 of them. They all cost 6 mana. There is Red Aspect Essence, which deals 8 damage to an enemy. Blue Aspect Essence draws 3 spells. Bronze Aspect Essence refreshes 7 mana crystals. Black Aspect Essence gains 12 armor. Green Aspect Essence summons an 8/8 dragon. And Storm Aspect Essence deals 3 damage to all enemy minions. This can be interesting. These are obviously a lot better if you get to play them together. If you're paying 6 mana for 2 or 3 of these effects, that's pretty good. If you're paying for one of these effects, it's okay, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
in a pinch, it'll do. There's definitely times where you play it just for one, and it's like that was fine, right? Like,
yeah.
it's not what I want to pay for this all the time, but it's fine. Playing anything with the mana refresh is great, right? Like, is you and make sure you spend your additional 1 mana before you do it, because it refreshes 7, not 6. So,
And it's not like Innervate where you just get an empty mana crystal. It's actually refreshing.
right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Mirdrasil.
Yeah.
Rather than like Innervate.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some neutral armor in there. I don't know that we'd play this just for armor, right? But there's also, I mean, the reason why I had tagged Wicked Good was because that deal 8 damage would be doubled with Atiesh, or quadrupled if you did it with Tyrande. And maybe we do that instead of the Ruby Sanctum damage. Your objection was that we're adding 6 cards into our deck that doesn't have as much draw. One of them does say draw, but still.
You're playing a 35 card deck when you're doing this. That is not... I think it should be clear, but it may not be 100% clear. Like, you are adding 5 cards to your deck to do this. They're powerful cards, especially if you get them to play together, but you're also making your deck bigger and making it harder to find the cards that are driving your plan. So you have to make sure that you are willing to accept that. Also, you are not doing any of these things before you have 6 mana, which, if you're adding 6 cards that cost 6 into your deck, that can screw up your early turns too. So it is, I don't know how much that matters, right? But playing with a 35 card deck is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
People are just playing Garona to get a 29 card deck and make their opponent have a 31 card deck. I mean, there's other reasons too, but that's a big part of it, right? So adding 5 cards to your deck is an actual cost that's not on the card.
That is true. I think you would probably want to go lean even harder into the imbue. I faced a priest today on the Companion Hunter who might have been playing the Dragon Soul. I don't know. I didn't see it. But they were running like all of the imbues, including Flutterwing, which did kind of really put a damper on my early game, although it turns out the Companion Hunter, this was my first game with it. It is not about the early game at all. It is about getting to 10 drops and then killing them with Omen.
Right.
So much so that one of the higher win rate decks on HS Guru was running Crazed Alchemist, which I have realized is for Tortola and or Omen to be able to kill them at the end of the game.
What's running? Oh, Crazed Alchemist. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Crazed Alchemist. Swap the attack and health.
Oh, that's
that guy.
Okay. Is that the deck? Is that the list you were running or no?
No, but I feel like maybe I should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were definitely times when I could have won if I could have swapped my Tortola or my Omen. But the Tortola is really hard for them to clear, and then suddenly it does 30 or 20 something. So anyway, all that to say is, I think 35 cards for the Dragon Soul is a cost, but like if you did it with super high imbue, then you would make sure that you still had imbue, and then you're just like imbuing your way through the game, and then you're also drawing these things. But I suppose it takes even longer to draw your whole deck if you have 35 cards, so
yeah,
maybe not.
Yeah, and
there could be other experiments.
Yeah, there are reasons to play this. I don't think that these are... I think it's an interesting choice. I think that time was gonna tell whether this is worth doing for a slower strategy, but it has to be a pretty slow strategy to want to put 6 cards that cost 6 into your deck and make your deck 35 cards.
It doesn't necessarily have to be slow, is the thing. It just has to draw cards.
Yeah.
Because you want them next to each other. So you want to be able to play the things that are between.
Yeah.
So that's why I've seen some experimentation with a Broxigar list that is not full spell. It's just like turbo draw.
Yeah.
And then you get some extra power spikes from a few of these being next to each other.
Yeah. That was my other objection about putting it in Priest, is that you run 3 cards that cost 10 that are hard to get out from in between them. if you're
That is
doing
true.
that. Yeah.
And actually, if you're waiting to do the red, you couldn't have the deal 8 damage to an enemy be your only source of damage because you might have to play it earlier if it's next to some of the other ones.
Right.
And it doesn't deal 30. So maybe not, but the
Yeah.
Broxgar might be more like it. Or Edel had mentioned that she saw someone playing it in Paladin because then Dragon Scale Armaments will draw one of them.
Yep.
So it draws 2. It'll draw some other spell that you have in your deck plus one of these. So that could potentially go in End of Turnitin. I, of course, was like, maybe we'll finally get like a holy spell paladin again, but probably End of Turnitin is better.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. So anyway, so that's the Dragon Soul. We've also got a Ruby Sanctum event coming the last week of May, which is going to give you a Druid card pack, a Hunter card pack, a Mage card pack, a Paladin card pack, and then 2 Tavern tickets. There's new stuff in the Darkmoon Fair treasures. We're not advertising that. Our feelings on Darkmoon Fair is pretty clear by now. If you're interested in that, you can go read the patch notes and find out about that.
They did take out the golden pack and whatever the other one was for this one, so at least you're like gonna get a signature of something.
Yeah, that's something, I guess. There are free packs. There's more free packs in the Battle.net shop. And there's also a Diamond Alakir bundle that's discounted in the Battle.net shop. You'll see a pop-up for it in the client. If that's interesting to you, just like don't miss it, because sometimes you can miss that pop-up because you just want to play the game, and the game sometimes takes a little while to get going anyway because it has to spend time loading the pop-up for the Darkmoon Fair before it'll let you click on any buttons and have the buttons do anything. So
yep.
Don't, if you are interested in the free packs, just don't just click through the pop-ups to get to the game. Actually, like, look at them. So there are also, we're not going to go through all of the updates and bug fixes, though Twist is now officially gone, as has been foretold. There are a bunch of bug fixes. We're not going to read all of them, but the Your Opponent bug is fixed. That's the biggest one. The bug where Rogue's hero power would, if you imbued Rogue's hero power after transforming into Deathwing, it would become the Death Knight hero power instead. That's fixed. I still contend that wasn't a bug, it was a feature, but that's just me hating Rogue.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and the imbue hero power is back in Rogue, I can say. It was out for a little bit.
Oh, it was there all along. You're playing against less degenerate rogues than I was, because I've been seeing it for a while now. Apparently, if you set Wickerfang's stats to a lower value, it would lose its effect. Wickerfang gets stats of its legs, and I guess if you were to set it to like 1/1, it would just never gain the stats again. So they fixed that. Fixed a bug where Ruby Sanctum did not consume its effect when the damage was prevented. I have never seen this happen, but that's very interesting to me. But that is not going to be that way anymore.
Maybe if the hero was immune and you used the target a minion and then it heals the opponent thing or something.
I guess,
anyway.
Or like maybe if you like triggered an ice block. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it would have to be, triggering a secret or something, because I don't know why you would. I don't know how your damage would get prevented otherwise. There's probably ways that I'm not thinking of, but a secret triggering is probably the most common way that would happen. So, fixed a bug where the death rattle of Inspiring Maul could not trigger its end of turn effect during the opponent's turn. I'm trying to remember when the weapon triggers on your opponent's turn. It's a very niche thing.
It's a death rattle, right? So if you just use an ooze or a Restaurant Viper on your own turn to destroy the weapon.
I guess that would be it too. Yeah. So you wouldn't get the effect now, and now you do. And fix a bug where the Eternal Hold could not discover neutral demons. Yeah. That's a pretty big one. So that's gonna make the Eternal Hold not get Eldari Inquisitor quite as often, which is something that you should know if you're playing No Minion Demon Hunter.
No Minion Demon Hunter is still good, by the way.
It's still good, but it's going to be slightly worse, because the Discover pool is already small because it's a 4-set meta, and that was making it even smaller, which was making it that much better. That's all the bugs that got fixed, but of course we have because we have a new patch, we have new bugs, and some of them are fairly significant. One of them, thankfully, there was an emergency hotfix as we were recording this on Thursday night that just got released to fix the CPU temperature issue. If you were playing on your phone, particularly on iOS, you will have noticed that your phone, if you notice your phone getting really hot when you've been playing Hearthstone, it is not just you. There was actually a bug that was causing that to be happening both on iOS and on PC. There was a workaround on PC. There was nothing that you could do on iOS. And I noticed this, I was saying on the pre-show, I noticed this today because I was playing a couple of games at lunch, and then I walked back from the place where I eat lunch to my office, and I didn't feel it getting hot, but it got hot enough that it turned on like it'll auto dim the screen when it starts getting really hot, like if you're using your phone in the sun a lot. And I couldn't read my phone while I was walking back because it was too dim and the sun was too bright. So it was definitely happening, but not enough that I was noticing it. But some people have been really feeling it getting pretty warm and uncomfortable to use. So hopefully that hotfix will have fixed that by now. The one that has not been fixed specifically, I think we referenced it with the Animal Companion Hunter, is that if you upgrade the Animal Companions beyond 10, then what will happen is that one of the 3 Animal Companions will become a card back, and then upgrading it again makes it a 1-drop. That is still happening. So if you are playing Animal Companion Hunter, you want to do your best to stop at 10 and not bust. Like in Blackjack, if you go over 10, then you bust, and then you'll still have, it won't summon the card back. That would be hilarious. I don't know if it summons the 1-drop or not, but it definitely doesn't summon the card. It doesn't summon the minion in the card back. It'll just, the odds are better to summon the other 2 companions.
Yeah, so I imagine it would summon the 1-drop. I didn't go that far, and wouldn't summon a card back, so you'll lose one of your 10 drops, and it might not be the one you wanted to lose.
Yeah.
But you still could if you really needed to, I think. I do think this will make a big deal to the hunter when it's fixed, because then it'll be easier to just go for 10 and not have to worry about then turning off your cards, or now I can't play Confront the Tol'vir because I'm going to go over, or now I'm at 9 and I can't play the Roam thing because that'll put me to 11 instead of 10.
Yeah.
So I do think that'll help, and it is pretty powerful to have Omen, Agamagan, and Tortola really consistently, because those are the only 3 beasts, so it's always them.
Yeah.
At 10 drops.
One thing I did try is if you do play Call of the Wild after that, you will still get 3, but it'll be 2 of one and 1 of the other that are left. So you won't lose one, but you won't be able to ever summon the 3rd one that was there. The 3rd one, that was on the left, is just gone. So be aware of that. Also, Treasure Hunter Eudora is banned in Arena because its quest was not completing. So that is banned in Arena until they figure that out. There's other things. If there's something else that looks weird to you, we'll have a link in the show notes to the known issues. You should be doing that when there's a new patch anyway, if there's something that looks weird. But because there's a bunch of stuff that's going on in here, but those are the major ones that you're going to want to be aware of that could be affecting you, or could have been affecting you. Finally, there was an announcement of an announcement of an announcement of an announcement, which I think is a new record for announcements of announcements of announcements. So there was a post from the Hearthstone social team on Blue Sky and Twitter, I refuse to call it X, that had highlights from the patch and for May. And it highlights the Tavern Brawl schedule, the weekly free packs, the Masters Tour Spring Playoffs, which are on May 17th. Mark your calendars. And then on May 28th, it says announcement of announcement of announcement. Sure.
And I do want to highlight, because by the time we talk about this next week, it'll be so close that people will miss it. The Masters Tour Spring Playoffs are on May 17th. Go watch it. It'll be awesome. We'll remind you next week too, but by the time you hear that, it might have already happened. So I just want to highlight that.
Yes. And maybe there will be an announcement of the announcement of the announcement of the announcement.
I mean, do we think this is on May 28th, they will tell us, hey, we've got some big stuff at BlizzCon, right?
I
I
don't know. Like, just tell us what you want to tell us. Like, this whole announcement thing is, I don't know. It's too much. It's a meme now. Like, and I mean, I know they know it's a meme. Like, but it's like, okay, fine. We're gonna learn nothing on May 28th except when we might learn something. Cool. Okay. Like, sure. But it's news, so we had to cover it. But anyhow,
So we have now baited you as well, listener.
Yes. So I have done my duty by informing you of the announcement of the announcement of the announcement of the announcement. So I have an announcement that we're going to talk about explanations now. So let's announce that.
All right, so we are going to talk a little bit more about what's going on with the class sets, both a little more on our feelings about it, but also looking at what lists there are and if there's any, lists that are perhaps a little more refined. Now, as usual, play at your own risk. We're not necessarily saying that these are going to hold up as the meta shifts, but they do seem to be more refined compared to what we have right now. And we'll talk about directions that we see it might going and just in general class sets and what we think about them. So I first just wanted to point out a little bit about Druid. So far, we're seeing really sort of 2 cards being played out of the Druid class set. So at least like in more popular decks. So some token druids have added Ashworm, which is the new 1-mana beast, starts dormant when your board is full awaken. I have not personally seen any experimentation with the actual quest. I don't know if that's because people just haven't tried it yet. I haven't seen it, or it's bad. I am curious to whether there's experimentation there. But token druid is actually pretty good right now with or without Ashworm. It really, really disappeared after they nerfed it so hard when Imbue Druid was so good, but it turns out it's actually perfectly good. So especially if you're not facing a lot of sort of control-like decks in your meta. So, and that's something where, like, this particular list is running like Ravenous Flock, which is the one that at the start of your next turn summons 3/2/1 hatchlings. So Twilight Egg, like there's ways to have a full board here. Wildwood Circle, Wicker Fang help with that potentially. And otherwise it's a pretty standard what we were doing with Token Druid before everyone started realizing that Imbue Druid was better. This is that list. It just also has Ashworm in it. There are also lists that are not running Ashworm. So if you haven't gotten the class sets, you can play Token Druid even without the class set. It's also a common, so if you just open packs, you'll get it.
Or just craft it. It's going to be, what, 80 dust to craft 2 of them? Like, you could just go craft them.
Marithra Druid has been adding Heartroot Stones because the card just seems good. Heartroot Stones is the nature spell, 3 mana, draw a card and gain 3 armor. If you didn't play a minion last turn, do it again. So yeah, you draw 2 cards and gain 6 armor fairly consistently. If you played like Horn of Plenty last turn or Acceleration Aura, or you are coining this out, then that works really well.
If you're playing this on curve, you've almost certainly not played minions yet, because you generally are not playing minions until you've spent 4 mana on, like either it's Darkscale Broodmother is the first time you're going to play a minion, or you waiting till you spent 4 mana to play a Felwood Treant. Everything else is a spell that's cheaper than that. So you almost certainly have not played a minion if you're playing this on curve. So then you can just go ahead and do that and draw, and then you spent most of your mana to get your Felwood Treant pumped up, or start working on your Broodwatcher and get that ready to go.
And this is a deck that could use the draw.
Yeah.
I've really noticed that when I was playing Marithra Druid, because you do really want to find the Marithra, as you were mentioning in Life and Ladder. And sometimes, like, I would just end up kind of gassing out a little bit, having trouble drawing with this deck. So having an extra draw 2 definitely seems helpful for this deck. And I mean, I actually had some fun with Marithra Druid before when I was playing last week and the week before. even though it's a little bit of a different kind of deck than I usually play. It's certainly like, if you like big minions and dragons, I found there definitely is variability in Marithra and the dragons that she gives you, but it's still a big board even when the dragons are on average mediocre. Like, it's much better when you get the A+ dragons, but unless you're facing something really slow, you can often still just build a board with the mid-cost ones. And then I think if you do get the bad ones, it's especially important to try to dream Marithra with Shaladrisil, so that you can try again if you're facing something really slow.
This is typically replacing Press the Advantage in those lists. So that's just an upgrade. It's a straight upgrade over Press the Advantage. Because you don't generally care about the attack. And you don't, I mean, it's like, it's fine, but that's not what you really want. Like, the 1 damage sometimes is relevant, but usually it isn't. It's much better in Demon Hunter than it is in Druid. So getting 2 draws out of it and getting armor is much better, especially because that deck needs the time to be able to set up.
Yep. So we have a list in the show notes that's just from Pizza HS, but, anything, it's basically just the same Earth Madrid list, replacing the Press Advantage with Heartroot Stones. All right. So, Dude Paladin. I've got a couple lists here. I have one from John Bray from right away when the class sets launched, and then I have one that was a little bit higher performing but with a lower sample size. So neither of these are the one that I played, but the one that I played, even though it was higher performing with a lower sample size, I lost 3 times in a row and was so annoyed that I didn't put it in the notes. If it's still performing well, you can find it yourself on HS Guru. So the one that has sort of more games on it from John Bray it's basically kind of an aggro paladin. In sort of the early drops, we have Righteous Protector, we have Twilight Egg. This one has Acceleration Aura. Some people have dropped that later on for just Convalescence, but this one has Acceleration Aura. It has the Brash Battlemaster, which is the 2-mana, 2/1 rush, Death Rattle, give your Silverhand recruits +1 attack this game. The early versions of this, some people have now dropped Resilient Savior, which is the 3-mana, 3/1 Divine Shield. After this loses Divine Shield, give your Silverhand recruits +1 health this game. Like, yes, health is good in aggro. We learned this with, like, various priest decks. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember there was something where, like, if you buffed the health of all your minions by 2 or something. I can't believe I can't remember what this was. Anyway, buffing the health of your minions is good, but this was just so slow because you had to play a 3-mana, 3/1 and then wait for it to lose Divine Shield before any of your minions gain an extra 1 health. This was definitely played in all the sort of day 1 lists, but I think some people have been thinking about, like, maybe that's not worth it. Convalescence is a good card. That's the summon 2/1/1 Silverhand recruits with Divine Shield. We're playing Violet Treasure Guild to get Convalescence, or in some lists, Acceleration Aura. We have Hatching Ceremony, which we mentioned at the top. At the end of your next turn, give your minions +2/+2, and Muster for Battle. Those kind of go together. And Teamwork, which is the 4-mana summon 4 and get 4 Silverhand recruit. We've got Erator, which is the new legendary that doubles the stats of all friendly Silverhand recruits and gives them Taunt. That probably is better when you have the, like, full suite of things. This is also running Emboldening Blade, which is the 5-mana 3/2 Battlecry, give your Silverhand recruits +1/+1 this game. And Nozdormu. It's just like, it's slow. I've been not sure how to play it because, like, normally when you play a snowbally aggro, you want to just hit the pedal on the gas. And this, like, takes a little setup to then build a board of a lot of little dudes. But it's like, what if we just built a board of a lot of little dudes from the beginning that were slightly littler?
It just feels like you're 1 step behind the entire game.
Yeah.
Like, you're making your guys 2 attack and you're facing a bunch of 3 and 4 attack minions. You make them 3 attack and you're facing 4 and 5 attack minions. Like, it feels like you should be able to overwhelm them with numbers, but in reality you just can't. And there's also just, like, a lot of weird interactions. Like, it's like Teamwork feels weird because you're trying to play flight maneuvers, but then you're putting a bunch of stuff in your hand. you're trying to play Gen, but then you have a 4-cost spell that puts odd cards in your hand, and sometimes you need to get rid of you, but you have like a mix of like, you really want Gen. You want Gen to happen because having a hero power that costs 1 and summons 2 1/1s is very good for this deck. But the way that the cards are lined up, like, you can't just play mostly odds or mostly evens. So you're having to play a mix, and then there's enough stuff that's there that it just makes it really awkward to try to get Gen to happen. It's just like it just doesn't feel like a cohesive deck. It feels like a collection of cards a lot of the time.
So the version that I was playing that I didn't put in here was running Sheltered Survivor, which is the 2-mana 2/3 that shuffles a card back into your deck. I think specifically because for Gen and Flight Maneuvers. It is, however, a 2-mana 2/3, but it could be useful for that purpose, or just like, now I'm top decking and I really am only saved if I get like specifically Nozdormu or something, so I'm going to try to get that. If it had something like Crusader Aura, then we'd have like okay, now I've built a board and you have to deal with it every time. If they had to deal with it every time because it could just get buffed more than +1 attack at a time, I think that would be different for this deck. And so it could be that if we get new cards going forward, right, this is a build that I think more than the other ones perhaps like could really change with like potentially more support in the future. Yeah, it feels like if you really want to play aggro, you're probably better off playing like Druid or Dragon Warrior or straight up aggro Paladin or No Hand Hunter. Yeah. Like, there's aggro to play. This is probably not the aggro to play. You can play more 1-drops, like try to basically do more of an aggro hunter that also has a few of these cards, which is what the higher performing lower sample list does. So it has Dreambound Raptor, Glacial Shard, Murmy. It cuts the Resilient Savior that buffs the health. And it is really just like, those are some backup boards, but we're fighting for board and like 1-drops and 2-drops a little bit. But is that worse than just playing straight up aggro Paladin? I don't know. I
mean, then just play aggro Paladin, just slot Convalescence in and call it a day, right? I mean, Convalescence is probably good enough to run in that deck, and it doesn't need the help necessarily, and the rest of it's just kind of like whatever. And this is kind of, so the issue is that there's no connective tissue to anything else that Paladin's gotten here, right? This is really on an island, which is why this feels like it's just kind of a collection of cards, because there's nothing else that ties it. Like, we don't have anything else that cares about Silverhand Recruits other than Muster for Battle that they just put in because they knew this was coming, which is fine. But like, we just got a whole bunch of stuff that does things at ends of turn. It would be cool if like one of these effects, not all of them, maybe the health one, I don't know, but one of them buffed at end of turn rather than as a battle cry. Because then at least okay, well, I can run a different version of end of turn Paladin that does this. Maybe there's 2 different versions of end of turn Paladin now. One of them is dude based because you have that. One of it's like the standard one. But it's just like everything just kind of puts you down this path where you have to run. Maybe you can get away with cutting the 2 copies of Resilient Savior, but you have to run the rest of it. Like, you're not running any of this without most of these cards, because you need them all to happen in order to have a fighting chance.
I mean, some people have also cut 1 or 2 Emboldening Blades and like just been like, we're just using the Brash Battle Masters, but that does make them kind of fragile, and then makes maybe like Arator less good.
Yeah, I think there you're relying on the fact that you have other buffs like Hatching Ceremony and Flight Maneuvers, right? And just saying, we're less about the silver hands and more about going wide, and just taking advantage of the fact that Brash into Muster is good, right?
Right.
Yeah. Or if you already have a board of 1/1s that they didn't deal with because it's not threatening, then you rush the Brash into something, and now you have a slightly more threatening board. So there is that. The list that I was playing was running Living Paradox. That did feel decent because they have Elusive. That's the 3-mana summon 3 2/1 elusives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure what this would need. But if you are on the, like, Convalescence is only a common, so, like,
Yeah.
you will get that.
Convalescence is fine. Yeah.
If someone listening is low on gold, if you're not interested in this, you don't necessarily need to get this unless you're like, I want to turn some gold into dust. Like, now generally I guess I would say it's still very early. I would not recommend buying this and immediately dusting it.
I would imagine these are going to get buffed, right? Like, they kind of have to.
I would not dust them right away. But if you want, like, you could get them later for the dust value. But if you're not going to play this now, you haven't bought it yet, you're low on gold, you can just wait. Like, on the one hand, the class sets are a little bit more expensive gold set wise, but on the other hand, if there's only one that you want, you can just buy only that one. You do not have to get the entire bundle.
Yeah. And unlike the mini sets, I don't think you're not going to open these in packs of Cataclysm, right?
I think you are.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
So that either is good or bad depending on your point of view.
Yeah, depending on if you're missing a lot of Cataclysm, then it might be a reason to get these because it is still a pretty good deal for cards, and then you're more likely to open other cards in Cataclysm. If you've already got a lot of Cataclysm, you could just wait and open these. Yeah. It's still, I mean, mini sets were like a crazy better value than anything else, so I'm not terribly surprised that they made it just like slightly more expensive. It's still a good value. But yeah, you can choose, like, if you're only interested in the Druid one or you're only interested in the Hunter one, you can just do that. It is a little bit less if you eventually decide to get, like, it's a little bit more if you eventually decide to get all of them, but you may be okay with that risk. It's just up to you. At any rate, should we talk about Hunter?
Yeah.
Do that.
I have not played any Hunter, so played against it. Plenty.
Yeah.
So the way that this works, and we didn't really quite specify, that I actually didn't quite understand how this was going to work. So when you play, for example, Tame Pet, which Tame Pet, by the way, you just like hard mull for Tame Pet. Tame Pet is like a huge mulligan outlier for this deck. It is a 1 mana, replace your future animal companions with random beasts that cost 1 more, draw a card. All right, so when it replaces the animal companions with random beasts, it's not just like now every time that I summon a random animal companion, I'll get a random, say, 4-drop if I've done this once, because they start at 3. When you play Tame Pet, it will show you all your current animal companions and then replace each of them on the screen with a random beast that costs 1 more. So if this is the first one, you get 3 random 4-drops on your screen. Those are now your set of animal companions. So if you can remember what those are, which as of current, there isn't a way, it'll be in the history, but once it goes off the history, there's no way to see what it is.
If you have Deck Tracker,
So
there is something you can hover over in Deck Tracker that'll show you what they are.
Not on Mac yet. I look forward to that being on Mac.
Not on the Mac, because Mac users don't get nice things, but on the PC, you can. There's a little animal head that you can hover over, and it'll show you what they are. But yeah, if you're playing on a phone or you're playing without Deck Tracker, it goes fast. It's a pretty fast animation that for you to read, especially if you're not familiar with what the cards do. It can go past you pretty quickly, and it can be kind of hard to remember.
Yeah, I imagine that they might add that UI into the actual client. You can, right after you play it, I recommend, especially if you're not playing on PC, mouse over it on history so you have a little bit longer to look before it goes off. But you have to do that before it goes off the edge. So often it's kind of on your turn. But anyway, if you can remember what those are, that is a consistent pool. So if you got low drops, like low rolls, on your drops, then you know that, and you know that you probably don't want to summon any animal companions until you boost it more. Whereas if you got kind of like some really overstated things, then you know you might want to try for it, or like you know if you have a chance of rolling Taunt or a chance of rolling Rush, right? Because you saw what you have a chance of rolling. And if you get to 10, as we mentioned, then you're guaranteed to have those 3 be Tortola, Omen, and Agamagan, which Agamagan, of course, does not get its battle cry when it's summoned, so it's just an 8/9. But Omen and Tortola have all their effects because they're not battle cries. And unfortunately, Onara, as Wicked mentioned at the top of the show, is an end of turn effect, so that will still happen, not a battle cry. So we are, as a deck, we have a lot of one-cost cards, but this is not an aggro deck. Like, do not be fooled by the curve on this deck. We have a lot of one-drops because it's like draw or value. And we really want to be playing Confront the Tol'vir because that allows us to get more draw and also more tame pets.
Yeah.
Because we really want to get to the higher beasts. Like 8 or 10 are the really good mana costs to be summoning your animal companions at. We want to be drawing tame pet. We want to be drawing Migrating Elec, which is the taunt 3 mana 3/4 beast, taunt battle cry, replace your future animal companions with random beasts that cost 1 more. So it's a spider tank with taunt that upgrades. Other ways that we have to summon animal companions is the actual card Animal Companion. 3 mana, summon a random animal companion. Brawl Beer Mantle is a Emerald Dream legendary you may not remember. 5 mana 3/5. After you cast a spell, summon a random animal companion. This is another reason to have a bunch of cheap spells, such as, besides Tame Pet, Tracking, Wound Prey, and Sands of Time.
Plus the Raptor Nest Nurse gives you a 1-cost spell also.
Yes. We're running like Critter Caretaker just to be a 1 mana 2/2 and give you a little healing in the early game.
Yeah.
Like, that shows you that we are not an aggro deck, right?
Yeah.
We are waiting until we can be summoning with Spirit Speaker also, 4 mana 2/2 Battlecry, choose an animal companion to summon, so you will be able to choose one of your 3 animal companions. It's not technically a discover, right? It doesn't count for any discover effects, but it looks like a discover. You want those to be summoning you like 8 drops or 10 drops. If you can get Talia Earthstrider down, which is the new legendary that says Battlecry, your cards that summon animal companion summon 1 more this game, 5 mana. Then Animal Companion and Spirit Speaker become really good because suddenly you have like 2 8 drops, 2 10 drops. You can meter that out so your threat is not only Call of the Wild. Call of the Wild's your big one. 8 mana, summon all 3.
Brawl as
plus
well.
an extra 1 if you play Talia.
Yeah.
Brawl is silly once you're getting extra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brawl is, yes, because if you have Brawl and you're getting extra, then every single time you play a spell you get 2. So you fill up your board very, very quickly. And lastly, we have Roam Free, which is 7 mana. Replace your future animal companions with random beasts that cost 2 more. Choose 1 to summon. This is, of course, really only worth it if you like know that you're going to be getting like 10 drops off of this or 8 drops. But sometimes you do need that. And you do, like if you're getting into 10 drops with this, then you know you can summon an Omen. So that will like
Or Tortola.
help you with board. Or a Tortola. Like, you know that you can affect the board if you know you're going up to that mana cost. And there's a lot of taunts, like at 8 as well.
Yeah. Do you note that if you have played Talia, so you're getting an extra animal companion, and it's something asks you to choose, you only get to choose the first one. The second one is still random.
Yes.
So if you have seen your pool and you've seen that Onara has come to bless you with its presence again, be aware that if you do, and you think, oh, well, I'll just choose not that, well, it can just jump scare you if you're not careful. So do be aware of that, because I also have fallen down that trap. I don't remember if it was specifically Onara, but it was something bad that I didn't want that ended up coming out anyway, and then I was sad. And it's always going to be a 33% chance. So your odds are not great.
Yeah, that's going to be if at all possible, try to get that up again. I do like that. I was running the second list in the show notes, which had Glacial Shards, which is pretty good for stalling. And it is another 1-drop. I do like the idea of having 1 Crazed Alchemist, though.
Yeah.
Just for that burst.
This list is running Exotic Houndmaster instead, which is also a card that you've probably forgotten about, which is a 2 mana 2/2 with Battlecry, draw a beast, imbue your hero power. It does mean giving up. The only beasts that are in your deck are Migrating Elex. So you are effectively giving up the 2 damage from your hero power for the rest of the game to draw Migrating Alec and have it available to you on 3, which sounds terrible and is still probably correct for this deck, because it is that important to start getting the animal companions upgraded ASAP.
Well, because like you're just not having a relevant hero power anyway, right? Like the 2 damage is not a big deal when you're trying to kill them with Tortola or Omen.
Yeah.
Like this is your quest is make your beasts into 10 drops. And then your reward is Omen and Tortola.
Yeah. I mean, I have had a game where I was stuck. I had my board cleared a couple times. I think I was playing against a priest, and I had my board cleared every time that I put one up, and I was stuck on 8 damage, but they also weren't healing. I think I ended up killing them with 2 Aeon Fluxes that I got from Fell Chart twice, and I think that's what ended up killing them. But it would have been a little bit easier if I was able to sink a little bit more damage into them over the course of those last couple of turns.
I did find versus Priest that, like, because if you can get Talia or Strider down, you can make a number of boards to threaten them, such that they have to get a little lucky with their imbues, because you will sort of run them out of clears. But if they get their weapon going with a ton of healing, that's rough. So
yeah.
I was on the verge of putting Restaurant Viper in just out of tilt, but that's never correct, right? Tilt tech is famously never correct, but
that would also mess up your exotic Houndmaster draws.
It would, yeah. That's a good point. So
that's what tilt does to you. It messes up your exotic Houndmaster draws.
You lose your prefrontal cortex to anger. It's been flooded that way, and so now you can't remember that Restaurant Viper is actually a beast.
But you know who would never do you dirty is Demolition Renovator.
There's also the beast that means that they can't heal next turn, which I did get in
Crater
one game
Gator?
From Odd Map. Crater Gator.
Yeah.
Crater Gator, that one time when I was playing Priest, I lost a game versus like a Death Knight that got this randomly. I had never seen this card before, and I didn't even really check what 4-drop they had summoned or like they had played, because I was like, whatever, it's a 5/4. So I just tried to heal because I was clearly going to win. I just had to keep healing every turn. It was fine. I had like 2 Eternal Firebolts that were healing me for a bajillion. I like play my turn kind of distracted, and then I'm not healed. And I'm like, well, that's really weird. So I hit end turn. They almost kill me. I still haven't quite realized why I didn't heal. I'm thinking maybe I just like didn't notice what I was doing. So then the second turn, I also try to heal because they played another Crater Gator. And I didn't notice. This is why you do what I have talked about in a couple episodes ago about playing mindfully. This is what happens if I don't play mindfully. This is why I don't usually do that.
Reading the card explains the card. You know.
The card explained the card. My opponent was like, oops. And I deserved it that particular time. Normally I get really annoyed when they say oops. And I was annoyed, but I also couldn't be mad. So anyway, I do hope that the fix for Companion Hunter makes it better, because I did find it kind of fun. Tame Pet is so much of a mulligan outlier that's like a little bit concerning. But I hope this one can get into a place where we're playing it more. It actually feels a little bit more cohesive and closer than the Dude Paladin, I would say. But like Tame Pet is a mulligan impact of 8.8, like plus 8.8 percentage points. By the way, the not drawn impact for Tame Pet is 26.5% worse if you don't draw Tame Pet.
It's tough out here.
Man, when you got the wild pets and you can't tame them, man, they just come and bite you right in the butt. That is, wow.
Yeah. Migrating Alec is also minus 20, although interestingly has a negative mulligan impact. I guess you want to get it, like, you want to draw it on 3, I guess. I don't know. But you do want to draw it at some point. This is also not a ton of data yet on the mulligan.
And I know that you have a lot of one cost cards, but Neri kind of seems superfluous. Maybe I just haven't been looking to take advantage of it. Like, I guess if you have a tame pet and you wait for Neri to play it, then you get 2 tame pets. But also, like, you don't really want to wait till 4 to start playing tame pet necessarily. I guess maybe you could get away with it. But it's like the early turns feel so slow and so, like, tempo negative as it is. Like, every time I play Talia on curve, I want to throw up. Because it's just like a 5-mana 4/6 that I know is correct because it's going to make my next plays good, but like I'm almost always facing down a board and just playing a vanilla 5-mana 4/6 for the promise of it doing something later feels absolutely abysmal in the moment.
Yeah. But I do think that post bug fix Haunter might be the most functional as designed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, there may be a form of mage. I'm convinced it does not run the 6-cost minion summoning leyline.
Unless they made that Discover or something and like really buffed it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think without buffs, Paladin and Mage, eventually the novelty will wear off and people will be tired of losing.
In terms of Mage, I mean, you've given us some information about this. Ed'll put in a couple of lists here. One that includes everything, and Arcanomicon. Actually, it still doesn't include the 6-drop.
I took it out. I couldn't stand summoning bad 7-drops. That's
Yep. And then one that is Burn Mage, that also has Surge Needle and Laywalker and Bursting Leyline. Is that it?
Leyline Nexus. Yeah, I mean, because that's just a good draw spell, right? I mean, that's just fine to play.
Well, if you get it upgraded a couple of times, right? Like,
yeah.
2 mana, draw a card, it costs 1 less is not good. You need a Surge Needle at minimum. But it's interesting. You can sort of afford to take this approach of like, well, there are these specific minions that I hard mulligan for, and like there's enough of them that I get to keep something in the mulligan, whether it's Archmage Calic or Mystic Runesaber or you kind of just mulligan for minions, and you want the minions for early chip damage potentially, but you also want the minions, to upgrade your stuff. Yeah, the dragon one has the advantage of you get to run Mirror Dimension, which is nice for protecting your face and also your minions for more chip damage. The other one, I was just, it's the shaved down version of what I had started with, which, yeah, was everything and like a bunch of Discover things to try and hit more spells. Partially because it was like, I felt like if we're going a slower list, I needed to run Discover Arcane spells from the past to have any hope of getting a decent board clear.
Yeah.
Because you can hit Devolving Missiles or Star Power or whatever. Like, Mage does not have a mid-game board clear. It
needs Star Power or something.
You can't just rely on getting lucky. It's no way to live. So
you have Arcane Flow in here, even though it might be hard to get it together sometimes, just because it is a board clear. And I mean, I guess in Burn Mage, if you do get it together and you've played Archmage Calic, it's a ton of damage. But
I mean, worst comes to worst, you play half of it and it's still a board clear. A bad one, but it's still a board clear.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes you got to do that, right? When someone's doing a go wide strategy, and so they have 4 minions out, you play just the 2 damage AoE, and you can get out Spellweaver's Brilliance for 6/6, right? That's fine. But also sometimes you draw them reduced with Leyline Nexus, and then you don't really care about putting them together because each side is reduced, and so you can play it easily that way. Yeah, it's... Mage basically has to play Burn because it has to kill you before you kill it. There's no ability to go long because the defensive tools are not there. You don't have really good board clears, and except for the stuff that also goes phase, and you don't have armor, right? With Arcane Artificer being gone out of core, like none of the cards from last year do anything for you defensively for mage. Like your clears are Blizzard and Flamestrike. if we're talking big board clears, right? All the other stuff, like there's good cards in Sleet Storm and Arcane Barrage, but you only get to pick one of your targets there. Arcane Flow has the 2 damage AoE. I kind of want to just move on to like, okay, all of these, we talked last time a bit how they're parasitic design, and the fact that they are misses, like it sounds excessive, but I get excited for new cards, and I was close to tears with frustration after just like trying so hard to make something work. And I think just the buildup of a year of this, right? They've got a little bit of goodwill with Cataclysm, and then to have this happen again is just like, what are we doing?
Especially after that dev video, right? Where they're like, oh yeah, well, we've learned and we're not going to do parasitic designs anymore. And like that, we're like, yeah, we have Herald, but that's it. And we've learned from that. And then they release these, and these are like the most parasitic. These are more parasitic designs than we've seen, I want to say, since like Murder at Castle Nathria, maybe? I mean,
yeah.
At least the imbues had kind of neutrals, but I mean, and I guess the imbues are that way too. But like all of these, the problem with them is that they require you to play bad cards early with the promise of playing good cards later. And you can't afford to play bad cards early because you get run over.
Yeah.
Right? That's the problem. Like we could do that this time last year because there were starships giving armor. There was a lot of neutral armor. You had Ziliacs that you could go into, right? Like there was a lot of sustain, and everybody was kind of building slower because they needed to be able to do more damage. That is no longer the case. And you can't really spend 4 or 5 turns just like winding up, and you just wait till I start punching because you're going to be dead. And it almost, I mean, it feels like a lot of my like lower power games of Commander where everybody spends the first couple of turns just ramping and playing setup pieces before the game starts on like turn 5 or so. And that's not how 1v1 Hearthstone is in 2026. You can't spend 4 or 5 turns with setup. And without having, I mean, you can, but you need to have a lot of ways. Like that's why we're running like 1 mana 2 to heal both players for 3 in Hunter, because it's a realization that like you need some help to get there, because otherwise you're just going to get run over.
I mean, I think, the game has gotten very board, like is less swingy, right? So it's very board based, and so that rewards snowball strategies and also going first. I don't necessarily mind the parasitic half. I mean, I will point out we're playing more, like we're only playing 2 out of the 10 druid cards so far. I'm sure that we'll find more stuff for other things.
That was the exception.
Yeah. Right, because that was the one that was not parasitic. Yeah. So like I don't mind it being like, oh, here is, especially because you can buy just the class sets that you want, right? So it's like, okay, here is basically a deck in a class set. But then they need to be like a little better than this.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that they did. Maybe they didn't want to nerf things that people had bought, but it feels like they aimed a little lower. I don't know. But it does feel like, I don't know if they just don't have, I mean, obviously millions of players can always test better than any amount of team testing can do, but it still feels like, I don't know, like are there like not enough people who can Testing. Well, that I guess the testing maybe more relates to things like the companion hunter bug. That might have been introduced like late, like it hadn't been there earlier when they were testing, and then it was here. I don't know. That's just
nobody plans to
speculation.
have bugs slip into production,
Right.
Like that's that's
No,
something
it
that
just makes
happens.
me wonder if they have enough testing.
Yeah.
But it could have been introduced late.
I'm gonna just defend QA for a second. Very often, sometimes what happens with this is that the issues get addressed and they don't get prioritized or they don't get fixed in time. That's also a thing that happens. So it's not necessarily people blame the testers when these things happen. It's not always the testers. Sometimes the testers identify the bugs, and the bugs are too complicated to get fixed, or there's not enough time, or there's not enough developers to fix the bugs. So it's an overall development process. It's something QA gets a bad rap because they get none of the glory and all the mud slung at them, and a lot of the QA testers are doing their best, and all they can do is report it. They can't fix it, right? So
yeah, no, that's a very important point to make. I don't mean to.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, I hope that they have enough people on it. I'm sure that they're finding everything that they can, and it's a good point that, like, even if they find it, there's other stuff going on.
Yeah.
I guess I got sidetracked from my original point, which was I just wish the power level of these was a little higher. A fair bit higher for ley line, probably.
What's funny is to your point, Wicked, I think it's possible had these come out last year, they may have shown, because maybe not the dude paladin, but the companion hunter and the mage, I feel like if you have kind of the greed, you can end up in a position of having this snowbally inevitability, right? The hunter gets these really big things. The mage gets, more, can discover extra Arcanomicons and have these really high impact ley lines, some of these big boards. But yeah, Cataclysm happened, and now we're off to the races, which is a good thing, but
it was getting really grindy before.
Yeah, it also makes this stuff obsolete.
A lot of like early aggression that's kind of running into each other too. It's not getting grindy. I mean, aside from like Control Priest and maybe the Druid.
No, I was saying it was really grindy before. Like starships were the grindiest thing. But even when they nerfed starships. Yeah.
Before Cataclysm.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like before the patch. Yeah.
Yeah. Like on the one hand, I don't want people to just necessarily play solitaire and ignore the board for 5 turns, like in a commander game. But yeah, it isn't. I do think that's an interesting point, Edel, and that like the one consequence is that this particular type of design might be a little worse unless we had stronger defensive tools for them.
But they're also built in a way, like there's different ways to make some of these like theme sets or make like a package that clearly needs to go into a deck. And there's like the Paladin card that summons the 2/1/1 Divine Shield is a card that you can put into those packages. That's probably okay on its own. It's kind of the only one.
Yeah.
Out of these, that's the problem, is that like even if like this is the kind of set, and again, I don't have the only card games that I have a lot of experience with are this and Magic, so I'm going to make a Magic analogy, and I apologize in advance, but because like what these sets feel like, they feel like what I would expect to see in like the commons and uncommons of a Magic set that are intended for a limited environment, right? Where you're going to draft a lot of these and you're going to put together a deck with those, and that's a pretty clear, like they say what the draft archetypes are ahead of time, and like there are clear signposts that you want to draft these things and that's what you want to try to build, and that's what these feel like. And those cards very rarely make it into constructed play. Like every so often, 1 or 2 of them will, but for the most part, those cards don't make it into constructed play in Magic. Those are usually like the rares that are not part of those sets that are the haymakers that'll make it into constructed, right? But these feel like they are intended for like a limited draft environment, but we're trying to play them in constructed. And you have to play all of them in order for anything to work. Like you're not just picking one, you're not playing Bursting Leyline and just throwing it in a deck.
Right.
Like,
well, because like at minimum, you need a Surge Needle for any of the ley lines to be playable, right? You need a recast. And then they start being like, okay. Right. And then, some of those other upgrades help. But yeah, and like maybe some of it is the size of the pool, although putting faith in mini pools is sketchy in the best of times. But the most likely number you are going to be stuck at for the minion summoning ley line that I forget because I've taken it out of everything is 7, because you will keep a Mystic Rune Saber in your opener, and likely just one, and then it may take you a while to find the other one. Even if you have Arcanomicon, that's a 7-drop, so it's not coming down for a long time. So when you're wanting to play that first of the minion summoning ley line to try and get a big board, you're getting 7-drops, and 7-drops are garbage.
7-drops have always been garbage.
Yeah, pretty much always. That's true. Yeah.
That's not this minion pool. Like 7-drops are very often where a lot of the battle cry minions, like the powerful battle cry minions, live. Like that's every meta that we've ever had. The 7-drops to summon them randomly is garbage almost consistently. So like sometimes there's some good ones, but very often that's where you get like a 3/3 with a battle cry, and that's a really powerful battle cry that you're not getting because you're summoning it.
Yeah, I feel like for the mage and the paladin, I almost want to just be like, shave a mana off all of them. like the minions in the case of the mage, right? You could leave the spells fine. But if we're going like basics patchwork fix, like shave a mana off all the minions so that you don't get killed getting them in play. Adjust stats accordingly. Similar for the paladin, like I think it could be a 3 cost, that weapon. I don't know. Maybe that's insane, but
a 5-mana 3/3 weapon is ridiculous, honestly.
A 3/2.
3/2? Oh, it's a 3/2. It's a
like
3/2. Oh my god. Yeah, that's obscene.
I was like, okay, 5 mana makes sense when I thought that it was when you swing. I thought it was when you swing, not battle cry. And I was like, yeah, 5 mana makes sense for that. And then when you told me it was battle cry, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
What? Why would you do that to me?
Like we just had like a year ago a 4/2 weapon that would draw you like the most expensive card from your deck every time you swung for 4 mana. And this is a far cry from that. And again, that got nerfed, but even so, like that exists.
It's still playable. It's still 4 mana draw 2, 4 mana 4/2 draw 2. Like if this was a 4 mana 4/2, that would be better.
Yeah.
Or just make it like a 3 mana 2/2 +1/+1. I don't think that'd be overpowered. I don't know. Maybe it would be.
And maybe they would see play outside of those decks, and that would be okay. Right? That would be fine if it's good enough to play on its own. Like that wouldn't be overpowered in a deck where that's the only effect like that. But like, hey, maybe you get a little bit more utility out of your hero power and you get a serviceable weapon. Like that's fine. That's kind of what like I would not be mad in a world where bursting leyline was like, I don't know, 3 mana, and maybe you'd think about slamming into another deck where you have arcane spells, right? Without any of the buffs. Right. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that it would be great, but I would say it would be like borderline playable outside of this deck, and that would be okay. I think the problem is that the cards that are in these packages are unplayable if you are not running all of them, with the exception of the one that summons the 2/1/1s with Divine Shield.
I think Brash Battlemaster I could see, because it's got rush, right? It's a rare thing that has rush right now. So 2 mana 2/1 rush, improve your hero power for the rest of the game. Like, all right, cool. You can sign me up for that. But
you're running Convalescence anyway, right? So it improves that too.
And Muster, like that kind of works nicely together. Resilient Savior, I just don't know why it works that way, or doesn't have rush.
Or have some way to give itself back Divine Shield. Like, I guess if you're playing it with Nozdormu and you could give it back Divine Shield, that's the idea. But, like, that's a pipe dream. Like,
I mean, if it had Rush, then you could, like, kind of set things up. Not as easily as when we had Drink, but you can make it happen.
You can at least know that you're going to get 2 procs out of it.
Right.
Because right now they're just going to kill it. Like, they're not going to give you an opportunity. It's got 1 health. That thing is not living. Like, there's going to kill it immediately, and you're not going to get an opportunity to like trade off the Divine Shield and then like use the last proc of Past Nomergon or something, or Nozdormu to put the Divine Shield back on, or Flight Maneuvers. Like, you're not getting that chance. It's not happening.
I did have it happen once, but it didn't win me the game.
I mean, I don't even know why it's 1 health. Honestly, I don't understand why it's 1 health. Give it an opportunity to be able to put a Divine Shield back on. Give yourself a little mini game. Like, that's at least an interesting interaction where you could pay that off. But it's like at 1 health, there's no way that's ever living.
Well, and the thing is, like, I think the 1 health would be fine if it had Rush, because then you can remove the shield the turn you play it, and then reapply that same turn with whatever. Flight Maneuvers, location is easiest to make happen. I mean, you need to have done the first few ones already, but yeah, I mean,
I would also love to see Teamwork just become Twin Spell. Honestly, like, there's no interaction that cares. I mean, maybe we'll get something, but there's nothing that cares about playing out the Silverhand recruits manually, right? Like, you're going to get them. They're going to get the buffs, whether you're summoning them or you're playing them from hand. And like, that takes up a lot of hand space. Like, yeah, they cost 1, but like, I'd love to see that just like not take up 4 slots in your hand when there are things that care about where things are in the hand. It's a small quibble, but it is like, I noticed that a lot when I was playing. Like, gosh, I have a lot of these just gumming up my hand, and like, I don't really want to play them all out, but I kind of need to, because I need to get rid of stuff in my hand.
Yeah. That's where I wonder if there's like something down the pipeline that's like in a hand buff direction where that becomes relevant, or
yeah, we haven't really seen, like, these sets they feel like they were designed in a vacuum in general, right? I mean, maybe, and we don't have future sight to be able to know if that's the case or not, but and maybe there's a legitimate reason that we're just not seeing right now, but like, these all do really feel like they were designed in a vacuum. Not, I mean, again, like, the fact that none of these things say end of turn say really clearly like they don't want these to be in the end of turn deck, because that's a slam dunk, that to have that connective tissue and have some of these say end of turn after you just introduce the end of turn paladin. And I think there's an opportunity, right, with these class sets to kind of extend, like, have another archetype, but you could have some connective tissue to the archetype one of the archetypes that you just introduced in the main set. And that's the other thing that kind of feels like a lost opportunity. Obviously, you'll have that opportunity for each one of the classes. Like, they're not all going to get that right away, but it feels like that's kind of an opportunity you have with a full class set to say, okay, well, here's this other archetype, and you can mix and match them a little bit, or you can have some things where you can pull the best things out, maybe make some sort of Franken deck or whatever. But these feel like they were intentionally designed to have no connectivity to the cards that we just got in the set.
And as much as we disparage the parasitic design, if there was communication of like, hey, we liked the idea of putting like saving it for class sets, right? And then the regular expansions are not going to be this way.
Sure.
Okay. But there's a big risk, which is when you miss with these, it's all the cards.
Yeah.
Like, Druid got a couple playables. All right. Like, and like, actually sort of more playables than everything else, because it has things that are playable in different kinds of decks, right? There's like, maybe you run that one thing in the aggro deck, right? The dormant one that when you fill your board, it's a 1-mana 6/6. But then you run the 3-mana gain 6 armor, draw 2 in the Marithra deck, and people are experimenting around with the legendary that puts the spells on things. There's like different decks that Druid can try and do. to make use of those cards, and that's just not a thing that the other classes get to do because they're all in on one thing, and it happened that they mistyped the mana costs of the cards or something.
But it's also like you're selling these for $10 a piece a la carte, and like I can't imagine somebody going in and buying like the Paladin or Mage set for $10, playing with the cards, and then like getting rolled over. And you know, like they sold these so much, right? And to your point, like if they'd said, "Oh yeah, we're saving the parasitic designs for the class sets," that's not what they said. They said we were done with those. They said we learned the lesson, and we're not doing those anymore. Like, and that basically, I mean, I'm paraphrasing. This isn't exactly what they said, but they basically said like Herald was the last time you're going to see that this year. Is effectively what they said, or at least that's what we understood them to have said. And then we go back to this, and that's why. Like, this is, again, you can do that. You can do this if there is another place to use your cards that is not going to be a competitive environment. I know I keep hammering on this, but like, this is what we've lost by losing duels, by losing Twist. And again, I'm not disparaging Arena, but you're not using your cards in Arena, right?
Yeah, true.
So that's where I'm being really careful to say that. Like, I'm not saying Arena is not a valid game mode, but you can't take the cards in your collection into Arena. You if there is no place for you to go, even casual is not really an option, because casual is just where people are practicing meta decks because they don't want to waste MMR on them. But let's be real, right? Most of the time. So there really is, unless there's a cool constructed Tavern Brawl for a couple of days, and those even degenerate, like there's no place where you can take your cards and do something like this with it and play something that's slower, that's not going to be competitively viable, but still be fun. There's no place you can do that. You don't have Twist, you don't have duels, you don't have any other mode where you can reliably do that, except for every so often you get a Tavern Brawl that'll let you do that for a couple days. And that's another problem with spending the money on these cards and then having them not hit in constructed, and now they're going to have to get buffed. They're probably going to get buffed to the moon, and that's a different problem, right? When those parasitic designs get buffed, at least there are no neutrals here, so we're only going to see them within these classes. That's a benefit above the mini set, where we would get some of these neutrals that would get pushed, and then we'd see those neutrals all the time. But it's still not a great situation, and I'm not sure how they're going to rectify it.
I don't think I'm as against tightly synergistic packages, and maybe there is a difference between parasitic and synergistic, but there is an ideal where you have something like the Discover Hunter, where they really do work well together and support each other, but you can pick and choose certain things out of that set. And I know that like not every set can be Discover Hunter. And I think, you know, like with the Druid set, there's other things that might see play going forward, or that might take a little while to work out, right? The other three are obvious in terms of what you're trying to build to start with. We might see Wasteland Vanguard or Nurturing Nature from Hunter in the future, depending on other support that it gets. So like having support for, if you're gonna have a more parasitic package, I do think class sets make sense. I wish they had actually said that. And I wish like I feel like in Paladin, you could make everything cheaper, or you could make all of the pluses to Silver Hands double. Like, I don't think that would be overpowered, because it is a slower thing. You're not getting your big boards until later. So just let them be big. I don't know. Maybe that's too much, but it feels like, I guess it's doing well enough in Diamond that maybe that's too much. It feels like it could be a little more.
Yeah.
Maybe you make it even more expensive, but then make the buffs double. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think making Emboldening Blade like 3 or 4 mana would be a significant boost, particularly because there's such a glut at 5 for Paladin right now. If you're running Nazdarmu, now Erator, you know, you might be interested in Talon, but you can't because the 5s. Which one?
Toreth, you mean?
That is who I mean, not Talon. Yeah. The other Divine Shield one. And I do think, Hatching Ceremony is perhaps something that we slept on, because it doesn't have immediate impact, right? You play it and then make your board. But it just, it feels like it's still missing stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the other issue that I have with this, and again, I'm going to make another analogy to Commander because that's what I'm going to do, I guess. But like, when you draw these decks upside down, you are not playing Hearthstone.
Yeah.
That is the other big problem with this. Like, it feels like a Commander deck is designed around one card that you always have access to and you build your deck around that, and then ultimately. Then you have a lot of these tight synergies, but you have a card that you always have effectively in your opening hand that will turn that on, which is kind of how the quests work too, right? Like, I mean, the quests need to be turned on to do that, so they take a while to power up, but that's the same thing. But like a lot of these cards, like if you, like we were just talking about like the not drawn loss rate or whatever the term for the metric is for Tame Pet, right? Like that's what I mean. Like when you don't draw a Tame Pet, and we are running an objectively terrible card, right? In Exotic Houndmaster, just so that we make sure that we have one more way to get the animal companions upgraded, because if you do not draw them, you are sitting with garbage in your hand for the beginning of the game, and then you get run over even harder than you would otherwise. Right. And I think that's the thing that really makes these kind of unfun sometimes, is that sometimes you lost and it was nothing that you could have done about it, because it wasn't, I mean, you can overcome that, but it's really hard to overcome it when all of the cards that turn your deck on are in the bottom half of the deck and you can't get at them.
And I think the great tragedy, honestly, is that these are all things that people are excited to play.
Right.
Right. The concept of the ley lines is cool. The concept of this companion hunter is cool. We've liked dude paladins at various points in Paladin's history. These are just like too weak of versions for the now faster meta. And I guess there's a world where like next expansion comes out, the control decks get better board clears, and now you've got a rock paper scissors of like, well, these things built to be slower can roll over the control decks, but then the control decks beat the aggro decks, but the aggro decks beat these decks. Like, maybe that's where it lands. I think it just feels so hard for me, because it's like, well, I expected more after Cataclysm,
Yeah.
right? Like we were all hoping that we were done with this.
Yeah.
And now when after Cataclysm I was optimistic about expansion 2 of this year. Now I'm scared.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing I love more in any card game than finding a way to take a trash card and make it OP. Right? That is one of my favorite things to do. Right? And I think that a lot of people really do enjoy that. And that's what these are doing, but they are doing it in a heavy-handed way that doesn't allow for that exploration, and it also just doesn't allow for any of these cards to stand on their own. And I think that's the problem. And it's 3 of the 4 sets that are all kind of like, well, you're going to power up all your things over the course of the game by playing these other cards that are bad. I think that's the problem. They're all doing the same. They're doing different things, but they're all doing them the same way. And I think that's the other thing that's a problem, right? It's that if there are different ways that you can do parasitic design, right? But it's the, like, like something like the crewmates from Demon Hunter for a couple years ago was also kind of parasitic design, but it's not quite as heavy-handed because you're not powering up all the cards over the course of the game. It's just like, well, if you happen to get a few of them more in your hand collected, then you get to play them out more. Like that sort. You have things that'll put them in your hand. Like, there are different ways to do it. It's all the same style of parasitic design that makes it all the much worse, right? It feels like, well, I have to play all the ley lines, and I have to play them this way. I have to play all the animal companion cards, and I have to play them this way, because there's no reason I would ever play animal companion if I'm not doing this. And that's, I think, it's not even that it feels like underpowered. It feels like, I hate saying it because I know that the designers work hard and I have a lot of respect for what they do, and I'm not a designer, but it feels uninspired is really what it feels like. It feels like, well, we're going to do the same thing in these three. Let's figure out a different way to power these all things up, but we're doing the same. We're going to power things up over the course of the game thing. And we've seen this a whole bunch of times, right? It feels like it's something that they've leaned on. Like we've seen this with Imbue. We're seeing it with Herald. They're different flavors of it, but it's the same kind of like, you're going to play bad cards, but you're going to make it's going to be better by the end of the game if you just trust me, bro. And it's like, yeah, but we've seen that so many times. We want to see something else.
I think it's that, like, we've seen it so many times recently.
It's something they've leaned on a lot. It's the same thing with the Quest too, to some extent.
Well, it's exactly the same thing with the Quest. And I think it has its place because it does make deck building easier for a lot of folks.
Sure.
And lets people kind of hit the ground running. But yeah, in this case, it feels like, even though they're the similar build-up thing, they're cool and exciting to do. And then final design was like, I don't know, too risky, and just like nudged everything into unplayability. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
on that note,
yeah. I do have, I guess, one final ad, which is I if we're talking like ways I would like to change the mage besides just potentially shaving mana costs off the minions.
I guess I'm excited to see what the final versions of these cards look like, because they're I mean, they're almost certainly going to have to get buffed, and I just
they'll give up like quests.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I can't see them doing that though, because this feels like StarCraft where it has to hit.
Yeah, well,
especially because people just like paid out specifically for these sets of cards, especially when you're buying like the set of cards a la carte, right? Like it feels like they need to put that to a point where that's at least giving a return on the money, because like otherwise, like you're not going to sell another class set after this if you don't do that, right? That's going to be it, because people are not going to buy into them, or they're going to wait 2 weeks to see what they get buffed to before they buy them. They're not going to buy them on day one and just to play them, because if they're left like this, I can't see it.
Well, okay, sorry, just wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love having discussions like this, but also like we can't really, like, we're not going to pretend that everything is fantastic with these when they're not, and we're not going to tell you to go play these on ladder to climb if you're not going to do that. Like, I mean, I think that it's, I think we give them a lot of credit, and we're very appreciative when they do things that are cool, and when they aren't, I think it's fair to talk about that and what we don't like about it, right? I don't think we're talking about how to fix it necessarily. I guess we just did, but I mean, I don't necessarily want to say that I'm smarter than them or I know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to do it better, but I know what I don't like about it, and what doesn't feel fun. And I think that's something that's fair to talk about. Yeah.
I have zero confidence of any of these making it into playoffs. Maybe some kind of burn mage. I guess that could happen, and maybe that's success. I don't know, but I sort of feel like it's just gonna be druid and warrior, and
we didn't think Quest Mage was gonna make it into the finals either, and that happened. So
I mean, Quest Mage may be back in the playoffs. Like, yeah. Anyway, we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at Concede.com. You can also find our contact info, show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/Concede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.concede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.concede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at Coinconcede, and subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/Coinconcede. And if you'd like some CC swag, head on over to our shop with the link in our show notes. Coin Concedes.
I will coin concede to Torby Flenderson, who did exactly what we just talked about. He played an aggro paladin and destroyed me while I was playing the animal companion at lunch today, and then then messaged me in the patron channel and said sorry, to which I responded, if you were sorry, you change your behavior. So but it was good getting to run into them on ladder, even if it was a very short game. Very short. But
Well, I have two. First, I will coin concede to NY Kiwi. We'd lost like every game in our coaching. I'm so sorry. This was on me as much as anything. But thank you for being a really good sport about it. And it's always fun to have the coachings. And then I will also coin concede to my instructor for vouching for me for this conference that I have imposter syndrome about. It's very flattering, even if she essentially forced me to miss the show last week so that I could get a proposal in. I did get one in, and worst case they say no, in which case I'm in exactly the same spot that I was before. So just with one frenetic evening down, and maybe I can rework it into something else later. The hard part about it was I needed citations for my proposal.
Yep.
So I needed to, I knew kind of first I had to figure out what I specifically wanted to say about my topic. So I called my mom and jabbered at her for an hour with what I specifically wanted to say to try to refine it. And then I needed sources for all of these things. And it's not as if, they're not based on sources, but they're based on things that I know in my head, and I don't necessarily know what source did it come from. So I'm grabbing all of my books and being what chapters are by things that I can cite, or maybe I can just cite this whole book and that'll be fine, and I'll figure it out later if they choose it. The actual conference is not until November. So if they choose me, I will have some time to actually get things really together. I also wanted to do case studies, but I couldn't put down exactly what I was going to do for those case studies, because I have multiple that I could choose from, and I also need to make sure that even though I'll be anonymizing them, that I have permission to do. So I can't promise any particular case study. So then I was just writing I'm going to do some case studies, and these are going to be the themes that we come up with through those case studies. Yay! So it was frenetic.
Well, at least you're through it.
But at least I'm through it, and I really do appreciate how excited my instructor was, and she's a fairly prominent person in the association as well. So it's definitely really, and she's awesome in general. So I very much appreciate it. Even though I wish she had texted me even a day before saying, "Oh, I told the bigwig that you would submit." I suppose I could have said no. Just tell her never mind, but
that was, her problem, but yeah, it's better to do that, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will coin concede to Necrodan and Toma, who friended me after some games, and got a compliment on my casting, that kind of thing. Always appreciate it. And then coin concede to Hat, whose birthday is nigh. It's imminent. So happy birthday, Hat.
Happy birthday.
So that will do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm and burst your ley lines, I guess. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend.